Welcome back to the Retrieving podcast. Today we have our very first guest on the podcast, and you might have seen him in some of the strength classes with Nika and on our social media, but we're welcoming Casey to the podcast. Hello, Casey.
Hello.
You're stoked to be our very first guest. Finally, a male on the podcast.
This could go either way. This could go real either way now that you're our first guest. No pressure.
No pressure.
Okay, no problem.
So that's some of the people have seen you online already, but do you want to share a little bit about your background, how you got into the fitness industry, why you became a coach, and all those fun things?
Sure. So it all started back when I played sports. I played baseball growing up, and back in the 90s and 2000s or early 2000s, there wasn't a lot of science behind how to train. Or if you wanted to learn something, you had to go to the library and read a book. And so I didn't really do a lot of that. I just trained however I wanted to train and played as hard as I could. Nevertheless, that caused injuries, and I thought to myself, there has to be a better way. As I got into college and started playing there has to be a better way to train to prevent these injuries from an earlier onset. So like from adolescence training, how do we train them to be better at sports and be stronger without overloading their movement system and causing injuries? So I didn't jump into training right away. I went to behavior modification, got a drug and alcohol counseling certification. That's what I went to school for, as well as culinary arts. So I'm very multifaceted when it comes to how to make good food and stay within what we like to eat and have our macros good. And so I found that with the addiction treatment world, a lot of people get addicted based off of injuries. And they get hooked on opiates, they get hooked on painkillers. And in the United States, our medical system isn't great. They'll give you a pill to fix a problem, but not actually teach you how to move through space to prevent further injuries. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to help prevent stuff. And then I got my certification through the National Academy of Sports Medicine, or NASM. And from there, that was like 2016, I believe, somewhere around there. But I found that information was just the tip of the iceberg. So I've spent pretty much every year going to continuing educations, furthering my knowledge, and trying to learn as much as I possibly can, because I don't ever want to feel like I know it all. And as soon as I have that mindset, I know nothing. And that's just like a concept that I've had throughout growing up. I just want to be a long-term learner. So started training, worked in a box gym or one of those corporate gyms, realized that system's kind of skewed and very diet culture-y, and want people to get the best workout ever in 30 minutes, which is really hard to do, especially if they have movement imbalances and you have to correct stuff. So I went private training, and through that, got into a position where I could take over a gym and buy it. And now I'm a gym owner, trainer, mobile coach. And yeah, I feel the spark I've been able to see in teaching people what their bodies are actually capable of and not just what they look like is the best. They're like, actually, wait, I can just get stronger and I feel better in my own body, and it doesn't matter what the scale says or what the the pictures show, because all the stuff falls into place. So it's my little backstory.
It makes so much sense because for anyone out there who obviously doesn't know, when V and I went to LA and met Casey had, what was it, a smoked tri-tip or something, and you were just eating it off a chopping board, and we like, because we were shooting, we were kind of hungry and feeling peckish, and you're like, here, have some, and I was like, whoa, this is so good. It makes so much sense. You're a chef as well. There's nothing. Well,
Yeah.
You should see his birthday cakes. I've seen his birthday cakes, and they're like got like all the extras in there. There's like candy that falls out of the middle. This is like some top level stuff.
we only got your smoked meats. So we didn't get any cake. We're gonna have to you're gonna have to hook us up the next time we come up.
Okay.
And I think it makes so much sense that you have every tool under the sun in your gym now as well.
It's like I'm a collector.
Yeah. What's your approach when it comes to coaching people, and what has inspired you outside of that to really focus on the strength coaching side of things and enhance that in the gym as well?
Well, one of the things that has been a trend is that a lot of people, myself included, we all have dealt with social media, the marketing towards you have to look a certain way. And I was never like, I listened to like punk rock, and I was always like against like social norms and like fought the system and whatnot. And like diet culture is a huge thing where I make my wife and I both feel that there's so much work to be done to try to fight back all that yo-yo dieting. Oh, do this cleanse, you can only eat this food's bad, this food's good, and all this jargon that totally just like beats down a person's like sense of self and psychology, and they start to feel shame and guilt about eating food that they enjoy, which is crazy. Um, and so going away from coaching people how to really redefine what their goals are and make them something that's realistic and achievable. And somebody wants, hey, I want to have a six pack and I want to look like this. And I was like, well, I've done bodybuilding shows. Like, I'll tell you how to do that. It will be miserable. Like, you're not going to enjoy it. If you have a social life, you're not going to have one. If you're in a relationship and they're not on board, you probably won't have it at the end. But if you really want to do that, I'll show you how. They're like, that doesn't sound too fun. I'm like, yeah, it's not. Um, and so teaching people how to actually move better, not be in pain. I've had a couple clients that they're afraid to do like deadlifts, afraid to hinge. Oh, I can't squat because I have bad knees. All these things that they put limitations on themselves. They just didn't know how to do those things in the right way to do them comfortably. And now most of them, I mean, injuries happen. There's no such thing as injury prevention, but there's resilience that we can teach. And that's the stronger we are, the more resilient we are to pain and injuries. So that approach just resonated with me at a continuing education. I was like, yes, like this makes sense. Like teaching people how to appreciate their bodies and see what awesome kind of stuff they can do in and out of the gym. Um, Playing with their kids, that's another huge one. Oh, I just want to be around for my grandkids, and not be stuck on a couch or medicated to numb out life because, oh, I had 15 back surgeries and I'm a robot. So learning how to do that, teach people to really define what the real goal is part of what helped the motivational interviewing and counseling side, I could dig in there a little bit more.
Such a good back skill to have, because I feel like in the fitness industry, you kind of almost counsel some of the people anyway, because you get so close to your clients and they tell you a lot.
Oh yeah, like the guards get super taken down, and they tell you more stuff than you'd ever imagine somebody would tell you. Like, oh whoa.
He's just remembering all the TMI that I tell him during our session.
I was just waiting for you to say that. I'm like, oh, Nix, how was your counseling session?
So how do you usually, we've covered that in this podcast on some occasions where we're always a little bit at odds with what the industry tells everyone what they should be thriving for, or pushing for like hit and killing yourself, and a workout is only as good as how much you like can't move afterwards. Do you usually find with people who are seeking working with you, do you find that there's this period where you almost have to break that down a little bit at the beginning and then interject in, or are you the kind that just slaps them with it and tries to wake them up from the matrix? From the matrix.
So I've had a couple clients that are like that, and they just want like to do this style of training, and I'm like, I don't do that. Like, I'll teach you how to move better. You'll get a good workout, but like, you're not really going to get the results that you're seeking by doing that. And like, this is the evidence behind what I'm saying. And if I don't, it's the same thing if somebody asks me a question, I don't know the answer, but hey, let's find out. Like, I don't know everything. I have a good idea, and I have an ability to work around people's goals and what they want to work towards. But like, I have a lot of client retention, so I don't really have a whole lot of new clients come through my doors. I've had a lot of the same clients for 10 years now, like close to it. Yeah, it's wild.
For anyone out there listening, that's a huge flex in this industry, where if you can hold on to clients for a long time, that tells people that you're doing something right, even though you think that doesn't make sense. Like, if this guy who I've hired to get me to a goal, once I've got my goal, that's it, I'm done. Like, why is this person still training people years on end? It's because usually what happens is, like Casey said, they've been able to get into the real nitty gritty and have those real conversations about whether your expectations are, you need to be shifted a little bit, because whatever the industry is telling you, that's not the life worth living, unless that's something that you really value highly. There's a better life of just like being wholesome and looking after yourself. And it's so weird, isn't it? Because so many people would think, hey, why do you still have a PT like 5 years, 6 years down the track? And it's because it's like, I value this relationship, and it's so, and I'm always growing, I'm always developing skill, and my life is changing, throughout those 12 months of the year. Even like within a month, my life changes, and this is the person that really helps me like balance all those stresses out. People don't like, once people kind of uncover that that's the real relationship that's going on here, it's almost like it transcends all expectation, isn't it? Yeah, that's a huge flex for all of those readers out there that don't know that. That's a flex in this industry. If you're the PT that holds on to clients for years, that's the person you want to be able to work with.
I think it's so easy to forget that people just want to achieve that goal, and then once they get there, that's when the yo-yoing starts, because then they got to the goal. But if you then leave your PT or leave what you've done to get to the goal, you're going to fall right back to where you started. So I think it's super important that you keep in mind that your goals might change, but if they change, then you still got to do something and implement what you've learned before to stay where you at or get better. Do you find that within the years in the industry that there's a little bit of a shift, at least from the whole I want to be the skinniest person possible to seeing a few more people that now actually do want to become stronger? And has that changed over the years for you?
I feel that there definitely has been a bit of a shift. And I've seen it with, other trainers and their clients at my gym. And just like overall, like people are more inclined to celebrate strength goals and strength like achievements than just like, oh, you look great in this photo. Like, cool, that's like a photo. And then like the next day, our bodies change every single day and it's not achievable. But I also feel like the amount of professionals that have continued their education and have moved away from just doing diet culture, quick 12-week, 6-week, like fat loss, like challenges, which is, all right, eat 800 calories and don't eat any carbs for 5 days, then eat a little bit. And doing that cycling, which, yeah, you're going to lose weight for sure, but then you're going to rebound, set your metabolic rate at a higher one or at a lower one, so you gain more weight. And then you just start this whole shift where people are seeing that and they're saying, yeah, this is wrong. And it's cool to see that. We just need more of it.
Can we circle back to you having done bodybuilding? Did you go all the way? Did you compete? Did you get on stage?
Yeah.
How did you I guess rebound, or if you did rebound, or did you do it maybe more sustainably? What was your approach?
So it's funny, injury brought me to do bodybuilding. I competed in like some strongman, some powerlifting meets. I did this one meet called an Iron Decathlon, which was 10 events in one day. It was like squat, bench, deadlift, snatch, clean and jerk, log press, farmer carry, rolling thunder, all these events. It was like 13 hours.
What did you eat?
So much. Went to Denny's and had like a giant thing of pancakes and
That sounds worse than the CrossFit Games.
yeah, it was pretty rough. And I missed my cut too. So I was like competing with people that were sitting at like 230 and I was like 220. I was trying to get down to 215. So I was like the little guy. But I medaled in a few of the events and like it was a fun experience. But very taxing. So fast forward, kept training in powerlifting, just wanted to had certain numbers that I wanted to hit, and I kept getting hurt because all those years playing baseball and training not intelligently caught up to me. Because as we get older, our bodies don't rebound as fast. So I had no bursa sac in my AC joint, my right shoulder. So anything I did, I could do 10 reps of any press, and it was just excruciating pain. It was just bone on bone. Had a torn meniscus on my left side, on my left knee. So there's certain movements I can do, and then it would just be like, nope, you're gonna fall over. So I was like, all right, well, can't do powerlifting anymore because those cause a lot of pain. I had a cousin that worked for the INBA, which is the Natural Bodybuilding Association. And he's like, hey, you should do this contest in Reno. And I was like, all right. Like, personally, I think it's a ridiculous, I mean, it's a good sport in the natural field. It gets a little wonky when you get to the untested meets and untested contests, and it gets very political. That's another story. So I was like, all right, I'm going to do this. Did about a 16-week process. Cut down from my normal weight, which is like 225, 230, to like on stage I was at 190 and did the whole spray tan. Um,
What color were your shorts?
it was black. I did classic physique, so I had the swim trunk, not swim trunks, but the shorts. Didn't do regular bodybuilding. Um, but it's funny because it's so subjective. It's not you you hit these marks. You have this ratio. You're like your neck is the same size as your calves, the same size as your biceps. That's the ratio that you're supposed to have according to the Vitruvian man. That would make sense. But no, it's this judge and that judge like you better than that guy and that guy, or that person, that competitor and that competitor. So it I just kept thinking about, you know, the dog shows where like they parade around. Like that's what I felt like.
Oh.
But and it was borderline. I mean, I would say it was kind of offensive on how dark I got spray tanned. Um, and it's funny. So you go in, you do the prejudge, they choose who wins, and then you go out again for the fans and do all the poses and all that. So it is literally just like a dog show. Like I ended up winning my class, got a pro card, and got the most muscular, mainly because my legs were like twice the size of everybody else's out there. Like the other guy that was the other guy that came in second, his conditioning is better because we stayed at a place that didn't have a refrigerator and a microwave, and I'd brought my meals with me, and that failed. So I peaked like the day before, which is fine. Um, and then after that, I think 3 weeks later, 4 weeks later, had surgery, and then it was like, all right, check that box off my like to do list.
Crazy, you got a pro card.
Yeah.
Would you like this might be actually this is a controversial question. Would you say you've referred to bodybuilding shows like a dog show? So would you say that it's quite close to pageantry in that there's no black or white measurable way to win? It's all really based on perception, aka looks.
It's yes, and there's also there's a lot of politics and whose team's hand is in which judge's pockets. And so if you've seen kind of there's a few documentaries that have been released by like Generation Iron where they like followed Kai Green. Kai Green was way better conditioned and had way better like mass than pretty much everybody else that was out there, but he never won. Why? Because he's also a little controversial, and they didn't want the title of Mr. Olympia to go to him. So there's some. I could be completely wrong on it, but I'm pretty sure that's what it surmised, because they're not going to go out and say this is exactly what happened, but it alluded to that. Um, and yeah, it's completely subjective to which judge likes you more, who can out angle the other person. So it's not you hit the lift, you didn't hit the lift. You hit the ratio, you didn't hit the ratio. There's no objective scorecard. It's just looks and who likes you better.
Yeah, we can go straight into you and the Vitruvian saga. I think Nix has just dropped off a machine, right? To the gym. Is that how you got started?
How did we got started? I actually came into S. Yeah.
Yeah, I think Nick should like I was moving back to LA and I was looking for a gym. And then boom.
Yeah. I came into SBC, and then because I had other gyms I was looking at as well, but after going to SBC, I was like, this is the one. And then I also wanted to talk to Casey about coaching as well. And I did have a caveat. I'm like, I will need to bring my machine here. And he's like, what machine? And then I showed him the machine, and then we kind of got acquainted with, brought the Vitruvian in, the Trainer Plus, and yeah, that was what, 18 months ago now?
Yeah.
It's been a minute.
It seems like a long time. It feels like it's been there forever.
Did you think 18 months ago when I came in rolling this machine that we'd be here now?
Not at all. But I also, when you rolled it in, I was like, there's no way this is gonna like feel the same or like completely annihilate me like it has. So I was like, okay, I
I was going to say, what was your first thoughts? Like, what was the exercise that Nick's got you doing on your first go? Talk us through that. What were your thoughts? What were your feelings? Go.
want to say it was deadlift, and it was either deadlifts or squats, and I honestly was just like, all right, well, let's see how this little thing goes. And the first little bit, I was like, oh, whoa, this is actually like hard and challenging, and feels in like kind of like I would say like a masochistic kind of way, like because I like a little bit, I like pain and like to like push myself, like it checks that box. And then I heard, all right, well, it goes up to 440. I was like, all right, well, I got to max that out, and then it became a challenge, and then um, like it's like I tried it and I was like I drank the Kool-Aid. Like I was like, yeah, this works. Like I wish this was around when I was doing bodybuilding because I could have gotten so much better like work from it than trying to MacGyver different pieces of equipment in the gym to get a similar effect. And you don't need to do that anymore.
What did she initially load you up with? Do you remember? What was her tactic? Because we've all done, demos with industry professionals, and we all have our little method of not really telling someone, like letting them approach it with some bias. We all have our little tactic. What was Nick's?
I don't remember. It just,
Throw her under the bus.
yeah, I feel like it just worked.
Did you like load him up with, like, I don't know, 200 pounds, and he was like, was he like, oh, 200?
I want to say no because I would have been using my profile, so I probably wouldn't have had that unlocked. I probably did the highest I could, and I probably added a progression to it.
Yeah.
That's what seems the most logical at this time that I would have done.
Yeah, I think that's what happened.
For our listeners out there, just to get some more details on differences here. In what is your current deadlift PB? I don't want to say like what is the highest, because that would have, I'm assuming that was in your powerlifting strongman days. At the moment, where does it currently sit, or is it now?
This now. So all my lifts are the strongest they've been. Um, with the exception of like I haven't done a true deadlift in quite a while because I had a old injury kind of pop up. I have a herniated disc in my L5S1. Um, and so I stopped spinal loading with that. So for deadlift before that, I hit 565
In traditional weights?
traditional conventional deadlift. Um, and that's just no straps, I used switch grip, and it moved super well, which I was super bummed that my back went out like a couple months later because I was like, oh, I'm on the verge of 600. I was like, right, getting so close. I think that was my goal for 2023 was 600-pound squat, 600-pound deadlift, and a 400-pound bench, which I'm now past that. So I'm like, all right, well, I can probably, if I were to do a quick little test on my squat, it'd probably be around the same. My squat and my deadlift are pretty much exactly the same. I have short femurs, so high bar squatting and all that's great. Deadlift is bad because I have a long torso.
How do those numbers translate to the Vitruvian? So you said your deadlift was 5. I'm really bad at remembering numbers. 5, 6. Yeah. So what is it on? If you think about, do we compare it with RPE? Like, what would be a comparable, like, when you think about the numbers on the traditional setting versus the Vitruvian?
So the first time we maxed out the Vitruvian, it literally felt like 550, like an RPE. It was the same level. Now I can hit 440. You can hit the Vitruvian. I can max the Vitruvian out relatively easier now. It's still hard. I mean, it's still a lot of the weight doesn't feel lighter. You just get stronger and you can do it more often.
Yeah.
Haven't really done a back squat in a while. It's mostly just like belt squats for me now. But that I got up to 1360.
On the pit chart, correct?
Yeah, on the belt squat, yeah.
Because of the Trainer Plus, or
It makes that easier. The finding the right positioning and foot placement, and then just having like the video I posted where I just had like two handles there, just to kind of like allow my lats to have them to engage into. Like allows me to like keep an upright torso instead of that slight pitch forward. Um, when you get to like the upper level of weight, but yeah, it's. I mean, I would say like the pitch shark feels easier than the Trainer Plus for sure. Which
Sorry, you mentioned that you've gone over 400 for bench. Where are you at on the Trainer Plus for bench?
uh,
Please make me feel better.
it's not anywhere close to that. That's for sure. I'm just gonna double check it real quick.
I got humbled on Tuesday because I can bench 60 kilos sometimes on a good day. What's that, 120 pounds ish? And then I got onto the Vitruvian and it was an incline bench, but still on old school, I only could do 10 kilo each side. And I struggled. When I programmed it, I put 13 and I was like, yeah, 13, surely I can do that. Nah, I failed. 10 each side.
well, it can go either way. It can either be humbling or it could be like ego and soul crushing.
It was a bit of both. Let's be real.
I think they're two sides of the same coin.
Yeah, for sure. So the last bench, the highest number I hit was 183 per side. But that was for eccentric. I was doing eccentric overload in that training block. So I would say like 165, 170 per side would be my Vitruvian max.
320. Quick math. And then
Yeah, right around.
And then in the gym, you said
I got 420.
how do you usually, because for a lot of people and a lot of users who first jump on the machine, and they come in with their numbers already in check, expecting to be able to push the same, and then they you know experience the same either soul crushing or humbling experience as we all have described it. How have you explained the difference to people? Because that is always a recurring question. Some people think that there's something wrong with their machine because they're like, this is what I can do in the gym, but I can't even do 60% of that on the machine. Like, how do you usually explain it to people?
So the way I explain it is, so with traditional free weights, I explain it like there's certain leverage points where the human body can kind of relax and chill in because just the way our anatomy works, and we're working with just with gravity. With digital weight, it's constantly pulling. So you're not going to have those moments where you can kind of just relax and like take a breather because it's going to still pull you. Like if you're doing shoulder presses or if you're doing a squat, like you can't just like hang out there. It's going to continue to pull you down, and you have to still expend a lot of energy doing that. So, um, and I tell people, I'm like, listen, like the weight you hit with your free weights is not going to be anywhere close to what you're hitting on the Vitruvian, and it's okay. You're still getting stronger.
Okay.
You're like when you go back to free weights, it's gonna those are gonna feel like paper weights afterwards.
That's so true. Is that what you found with most of your clients? Because I know you torture Nix and I, but also you torture your other clients in the gym. What has the general response been? Is it mainly like, oh my God, why can't I lift as heavy as I'm used to? Or is there like other insights that you can share with us as well?
It's usually why do you hate me? Um, are you mad at me? That was soul crushing. Um, but then they're like, but the pump was really sick.
Yeah.
And so like it's yeah, a lot of it's just there's like I can feel the dread of my in-person clients when I walk over to the Vitruvian. They're like, no. You just I can feel their impending doom. Um, so it's like give and take. It's like, yeah, it's not going to feel good for your ego. Like it won't, unless you have the acceptance and awareness of like, yeah, I'm not going to do the same numbers, but these numbers are going to be harder. So if you like that kind of, if you have that kind of edge and that kind of competitive nature, it's great because you get to the point where you're hitting the higher threshold of the Vitruvian, and then you go to free weights. Not only is your strength curve going to be better, but your stability is going to be better. Because if you're benching on the Vitruvian is 1,000 times harder than benching on a regular weight, a regular barbell. And then when you go back to it, you're like, oh, this is so nice. It's like a vacation. It doesn't like pull me down and I can like keep my bar path real good. Excellent.
And our Vitruvian community is really lucky because they get to experience a little bit more of Casey Spice in October with our new program. Do you want to share some insights on your thoughts behind this Creer program and what the users can expect? Because I'm really excited for it.
Did I hear cool or cruel program? Because it can kind of be a little bit of both. Um,
I think both. We can have.
um, I mean, so it's going to be hypertrophy based. So if you don't know what hypertrophy means, it basically just means muscle building. So we're going to tax our muscle cells out to elicit growth and increase muscle density. So what does that look like? Lots of reps, lots of time under tension, and some really cool spicy movements that I've tested out myself. So I'm not throwing you in the woods without knowing what it feels like, because I pride myself on, I'm not going to have you do something that I can't do. So I punish myself and I gauge, okay, is this, will I get a call from um, like the feds saying that I violated the Geneva Accords because this is torture, or is it just below that?
With you kind of dropping, like, this is genuinely like something I was wondering. What are you currently enjoying at the moment in training? Is it bodybuilding? Is it powerlifting? Is it strongman stuff? Have you gone full hybrid and now you incorporate everything? Like, for yourself, like, where are your goals right now?
Um, so the number one goal is just like not being pain, and like, so doing weird things like that core challenge with the barbell and just being able to move deceptively fast through space is real fun for me. Um, so like right now, main goal is I still want to be as strong as I can with my main three or variations of them. I really want to deadlift again, but that's like a cost benefit analysis that I still don't want to pay the cost yet. Um, and then it's just like, all right, so let me see how big I can, or how much tone I can make. So today's arm day, the Skull Crusher 42s, I had I had a vein in my tricep, but then my UCL was like defined, and I was like, that's really weird. And like just like little weird things like that, I'm just like, oh, that's pretty cool. And so I'm just like, all right, well, let's just see what I can do with that. Um, and like, it's cool. I'm 265 pounds and I can jump, trying to get to 4 feet. So if I can jump 4 feet at 265, that's pretty rad. And I'm like going on 40. That's cool. So it's like, have fun with life.
So that's some people's that's what some people are starting off with their back squat. And here you are doing skull crushes with them. With your program, you say that, muscle building, and I'm sure, there's going to be some people that, you know, they interpret information using their eyes. They're going to see you, they're going to see your physique, and they're going to think, oh, heck no, this isn't for me. Who is, like, when you wrote this program, who did you have in mind?
So it's for anybody that just wants to get definition, because we're not going heavy weights. Certain movements are going to be, certain compound movements are going to be heavier because you can produce more force through that movement. And it's just, the stronger we make the joints or the muscles around certain joints, the better those joints are going to feel. So there's nothing wrong with hypertrophy, bodybuilding. Like, in order to get massive, you have to eat a lot of food. And it takes way more time to get that physique than people realize, which is nice that nowadays the community doesn't say, oh, if I lift weights, I'm going to get super big and bulky like those those bodybuilders or those CrossFitters. Like, no, you're not going to look like that. Not anytime soon, at least. So, it's anybody that just wants to put on a little bit of muscle size and fit in clothes differently, and see how far they can push their bodies, because it's a more of a mental toughness kind of build, and hopefully it should be. I designed it so that way it's not just boring, because a lot of times in like traditional bodybuilding, you're doing this pretty much the same stuff over and over again. You're just doing a lot of reps, and it gets really boring and mundane. but it doesn't have to be. Hopefully get to try some new movements. And like everybody's a little bit different. So like that's what I like about the Vitruvian. Like you're not stuck on a traditional weightlifting machine where you only have this range of motion or this plane or certain angles. You can actually build it to your body type and your leverage points for your range of motion. And if something feels a little bit better, if like you like handles better than a bar, do it. Like you don't have to be very rigid with your training. Have a little fun. Embrace the so I have this term I say with all my clients, I call it embrace the suck, because we're going to suck at certain things, and if we embrace that, we get better at it. I mean, embrace the
I've heard
pain.
Nick say that a lot. She must have stolen it from you. Embrace this.
Must be like in the middle of her doing a set and looking at you with like an evil side eye, and it must be something that you're just saying or something, because yeah, she's she says it for sure.
I think I look really mean when I'm lifting. I've gotten that feedback. I think I just have like a nasty face, just like
You're in the zone.
yeah, it's my zone face. I feel like I'm not even.
Yeah, I mean, like when I train, I don't have like a very approachable face. I'm just like, I've had people that come up to me and be like, "Why didn't you like make eye contact or like say hi?" I'm like, "Because I don't want to. I'm like working out. Like I'm trying to focus on like what I'm doing and give my intention into it." And so, which is like hard to do when you're working out at a gym that you also train out of, and then people are like want to talk to you, and you're like, okay, like I'll give you my rest period.
But even then, like during the rest period, when you're like, okay, like aiming the rest period is obviously try and recover as much as you possibly can for the next set, and then some people will say like, oh, they're doing nothing. It's like I'm actually trying to proactively rest. Don't talk to me because like I can't like get my breathing in check again. But then at the same time, you're like, oh well, I'm not gonna you know just tell you to piss off.
Yeah, if you're part of like the club, like okay, I'll I'll talk to you. But if you're not part of the club, or if you're a telemarketer, no, definitely not.
Headphones in. I'm like, I'm busy.
I'm like, or like the best is like when you have your headphones in, people like start talking to you, and you're like, what? No idea what you said.
Thank God for noise cancelling headphones. You'll just be like, there might not even be anything in there. Like there would be some times where I'd do that actually, just chuck it in for the sake of people thinking that I can't hear them, and then I'll be like, I don't know.
Yeah, it's like it's the introvert's best invention: noise canceling earphones.
Yeah, the amount of times I went to the gym and they would be flat or like not charged or just one, I was like, nah, they're gonna still come in. I don't want to talk to anyone. Leave me all alone. But if we want to wrap up the episode, what is like your number one tip of advice for someone that's just starting out their fitness journey in general? Like your
Um,
last final pieces of wisdom to share.
like starting out, I mean, it's find people that are nice and encouraging, and I mean, a lot of it just comes down to finding the right kind of gym. Um, like I'm a fan of private gyms because you don't have to deal with a lot of nonsense. You don't have to deal with a lot of judgment or people waiting, um, rude people like taking up a bunch of space. Um, and it's just inclusive, and like everyone, for the most part, most private gyms, everyone's there for the common purpose of just either working out to work out, bettering their health, um, blowing off mental steam, like just cathartically getting out energy. Because a lot of times, like that's literally all it is. I got to get energy out and clear my head and unload stress, and um, just don't stop. I mean, make a small achievable goal, work towards that goal, check it off, make another goal. What I see a lot of people end up doing is they make one goal, and either it be a grand goal or something they don't have a lot of buy-in to, and then they work towards it, and then they change it, and then they work towards another one, and then they change it. They never actually have the cathartic feeling of crossing that goal off in fitness. And I mean, it seems silly to like write it down and actually like cross it off, but it does a lot psychologically.
I really like that. I do that. I need to cross things off, get them out of my to-do list.
I need to be better at that. I think every few weeks I come to Casey with a new thing I want to do. There are some through lines, but I think I have thrown some random things in there too.
Can you give us an example?
What are we working on right now? Oh, I want to improve my box jump for no apparent reason, but I just want to be
just because Casey did it. How are your handstands going, Nix? How are the splits? What did you do? I think there was like a goal that we had written down for you.
I know I still have till May 2024 to backflip into class. Yeah. Splits are pretty good. Handstands, they're okay.
Yeah. Love practicing new skills.
Yeah.
If everyone could go back in time, when I say go back in time, like maybe at the beginning of their training journey, what would you all say to yourselves?
Eat. Eat more. And lift heavier. You won't go get hulky. You can do it. I think it's the biggest one. I think I wasted like 3 years not eating enough, not seeing the results I wanted.
I don't actually. I have so many, but like I want somebody else to go because I need to gather my thoughts.
Very similar to B. Eat enough for the actual goal that I'm training very, very hard for. And also just staying really focused. I joke about it saying like I get distracted by, new skills here and new skills there, but just like the more consistent you can be towards that singular goal and have other things too, because again, with something like hypertrophy, it can get boring sometimes when you are doing the same thing over and over, and having something a little bit more objective, like a skill, like a pull-up, things like that can keep it interesting and keep you going. You have smaller benchmarks along the way, but just really just like staying consistent, because I've definitely I've talked about it in other episodes, like a couple of years on and then like an entire year off, and to get that ball rolling again, there's definitely like a ramp up. It's hard getting back into it after a long time. So I appreciate that struggle. If you are someone who's just starting or have taken a load of time off, it does take time to get back into that routine. But once it's there, just sticking with it and just staying focused on what the, I guess, end game is.
How about you, Casey?
It would probably be movement prep.
Oh, so good.
Like just from all my injuries, I'm just like, if I just knew that doing this before I did these lifts, and not like a lot, because I went through that rabbit hole of doing a bunch of corrective exercises, like the shotgun approach, where I shoot a shotgun of all these corrective exercises, but I have no idea what's working. And just figuring out, all right, so this works for this, and this works for that, this works for that, and doing that early on would probably have
That
been.
is such a good point, because even just seeing your program, and I'm like, I'm doing warm-up sets before my accessories. I've never done warm-up sets before my accessories. And just doing the actual warm-ups and following through rather than being like, oh yeah, just do a couple of reps here and there. Things that felt so good. I'm like, oh, I know this. Why don't I do this to myself? I do this to all my clients.
Well, it's the boring stuff, or it's like you have to do to do the quote unquote sexy lifts, you have to do the unsexy prep. And so it's like doing the movement prep for your main lift of the day is boring. Like we when we do it enough, we're like, oh, like I'm already warm. I've been moving around enough, and like we talk ourselves out of doing it. But then that shortcuts our ability to perform. And knowing that, programming it for other people, super easy. But doing it for ourselves, we're not perfect.
Yeah, mine would be to a combination of being patient and be kinder to myself. Most of my injuries have really been from either comp prep or in comp. So, and I think that's just from self-talk of I should be able to do this and I should be able to do that. You know, almost this like self-deprecating talk of it will not be good enough until you match this. I think that's what I would love to go back in time and tell myself. Just be patient. Don't give yourself this stringent goal of like if it's not this, it's not good enough. Like just being there and experiencing the whole thing is great in itself. That's what I tell myself.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah.
So powerful.
I think just last thing, have fun. I think also that some of the reasons why I maybe stopped training for periods is just like it stopped being fun. There's no pull to it anymore. So it's like finding ways to make it fun again. And maybe that is through those skills and little accessory goals or little benchmarks along the way. So,
yeah, I've definitely reached that point in my powerlifting life. Now it's time to change it up.
Yeah, well, I reached that point obviously last year when I injured my knee 2 weeks from comp, and I haven't really returned back to Ollie since because I think, well, actually, that's a lie. I did for a month, and I think I could almost sense that I was starting to talk to myself like that again. Like, when's the next competition? Okay, get back on the horse, get back to these numbers. And I think after that first month, I was like, oh my gosh, I'm doing it to myself again. I think I just need to step away.
And that's why you have to join the cool side now and
Get
become
onto
a powerlifting.
Yeah, I feel FOMO, but at the same time, I don't feel FOMO after hearing all your stories. But I feel like because everyone's doing it, I want to do it, but I don't know. Do you get like are your sessions like that for yourself, Casey? Like, is that how you love to train? All that volume?
So I have a coach too, and like he's worked with me through a multitude of injuries. Like 2 years ago, I got drop foot from a back injury, and so I couldn't even like dorsiflex my left foot, and it just like flopped around. So I had to retrain through that. And so yeah, like he's the one that I go to continuing educations with for pain free performance, and like right now our goal is not be in back pain and not be in pain. But what does that mean? I do a lot of reps. Like I had 4 sets of 15 reps per side on reverse lunges for leg day on Monday. And that was terrible. That's a lot of reps. Couldn't feel my legs. They're still sore. And then the next day was sprints and box jumps. So it's like, all right, cool. Like if I program for myself, I'll change that shit. If like I'm like, nah, that sounds terrible. I don't want to do that. But if somebody else tells me to do it, I'm like I'll write comments in the program that I send to him that feels like trash.
I think that's one of my favorite things about True Coach. I love sending you notes and like emojis just so you can like really grasp how I'm feeling at that time. I think it's more cathartic for me.
It's like it's an outlet or something, like an outlet for to get it all out there.
It's usually like a lot of like any of like the emojis that have tears. It's like a combination of those.
Yeah.
What you know how in the app, in the Vitruvian app, it tells you like what muscle groups you've been training in your profile. Are there any muscle groups where it's it's like really close to like zero or single digits?
Probably the core one. No, that's like 4. Core core is 4%.
I think mine's on 2.
Let's see. Core.
But everything else is pretty much close to like 20, and legs are at 27, obviously. 'Cause,
Oh, that's still good. What's your core at, V?
Let me check.
Oh,
5.
see, that's good. Good numbers. Good numbers.
I have a really good even split actually. Besides the core, everything's green, like 16, 25, 30, and then
Really? Mine's all legs and shoulders. Legs and shoulders. Back is small. Chest is small. Core is small.
must be the good programming, you know.
I think it's just the selective workouts, if you ask me.
That's why you should join the good side. I think we can.
Casey, I think the question everyone's been dying to ask is, what did you do to get those calves?
They're like bigger than your biceps. It's crazy. The people need answers.
If you want like an idea of like scale, go to any class in Savage Strength and just look at my calves and then look at Casey's.
so I mean, early on in my training, like I literally my first thing when I walked into the gym was find the calf raise, like standing calf raise, max it out, and just do like 5 sets of 20 or 5 sets of burnout. That's what I started out doing from like age 16. Um, but I also played baseball and I was a catcher, so a lot of my childhood was being in a like calf raise position for long periods of time. Um, the other theory is that in in the womb, I was supposed to be twin. We were supposed to be twins, and then I absorbed my twin, and it went straight to my calves.
Does the twin have a name?
No, no, but I got a gorilla tattoo in homage. So
So what I'm hearing from this is me training calves once a quarter is not gonna get me there.
no, but 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 realistically, in the program, I actually have calves being one of the first exercises of a lower body day because we if we want something to grow, we need to put the most attention into it, not a side note of, oh, I'm all done, so I'm gonna just bust out a bunch of like bouncy calf raises and like mail the check in. You want to put the most attention into it, and so early on in the workout is the best time to actually get the most neural activity into it. But that's what I did early on, and then just always hitting legs 3 times as much as I hit upper body.
Do you do any tibialis anterior stuff?
Yep.
So you have jacked tib ants as well.
Yeah, they like my shin. You can't really see my shins. It's just
All muscle, no bone.
so yeah. Um, so with that, I'll do banded. I did banded work to rehab the foot drop. So I basically would just tie a band to a rack, and then I would just booty scoot my way back and just do a million reps. The other one is doing kettlebell um, raises from like a box and just hold weight that way. Um, but that didn't happen like early on. That was more as I got older and realized, oh, I can't just do the backside of my foot. or my ankle mobility. I have to do both.
Like your ankle moves. It's so funny when we did that little test of like stress test of the machine, and I was like, this is me and my naivete kicking in, but I just thought, big dude, like I'm gonna see probably the same old mobility, you know, um, constraints. And then I was like, okay, go do a squat. And then this dude has, like, Casey has one of the best ankle mobility I've ever seen. And I was like, okay, well, then this test is now void because your mobility is really good. And we're going to have to find a completely different test case.
Yeah,
So good.
that's
I
true.
think the retrieving community can expect a whole lot of fun in that program, and I feel like whenever trainers say fun, it's gonna be it's gonna be fun but spicy. But I'm super excited to launch the program, and I think people will get heaps out of this podcast episode as well.
Yeah, I'm excited to hear everybody complain. So, or hear the cheers and the complaints, because yeah,
Cheers and tears.
yeah,